Welcome back to Touring the AFC South. I am your host, Mike Patton, and we're going to keep it here in Nashville with this episode. We're going to talk about the Tennessee Titans, who was once a hot team and now going through a three-game slide. Here to talk about this on this episode is ESPN Titans reporter Turron Davenport. What's going on, man?
What's up, man?
Man, I know it's not up right now. The Titans right now, woo-wee. 3 straight losses. Of course, the first 2 losses, the Bengals and the Eagles. This last one, shockingly to a lot of people, to the Jaguars. I mean, wow. What is the temperature in the room with the Titans at this point?
Well, their whole thing is about turning the page and going forward to L.A. and facing the Chargers. They understand that this is a loss, that a lot of things didn't go right, but what they're looking to do is keep things on a positive note. You look at what Ryan Tannehill and even Todd Downing said, there's a lot of things that went wrong, but there's a lot that went right. So it's just a focus on being positive and trying to find, good things from the loss, but more importantly, turning it over to L.A. and coming out with a win and stopping the streak. I think that's really the mindset, right? Stop the bleeding and roll into the playoffs on a high note. And that's where Mike Vrabel had referred to the crossroads. He was talking about that, getting into the playoffs and on the streak.
Right. Now, I do want to stay just, with the Jaguars game, just a little bit longer, just kind of talk about a few things there. Now, the team started off very well offensively, and then all of a sudden that one play happened. Like I've heard you talk about on your show, which Talking with TD, if you haven't tuned in to Talking with TD, you need to, whether it's on a podcast level or you tuned in on the radio. But you were talking about that turnaround play where Derrick Henry caught the pass. He got spinned around on the screen pass, and then a guy named Shaq laid him out. So
Shaq Quarterman, yeah.
Yes, sir. And
that was the turning point in the game, honestly. You look at that, they're driving, probably score 3 points, maybe a touchdown. Either way, they're more than likely going to put points on the board, and it's 17-10 or 21-10, and it's a whole different ball game going into halftime. But instead, the fumble happened, and then you had – and this is a thing also, the turnovers, right? You had the opportunity for Roger McCreary to make a big play, but the ball went through his hands. Zay Jones caught it, and now it's 17-14. Jaguars getting the ball back, and there's a lot of life in that locker room during halftime as opposed to how it could have been another one of those here we go again type moments for them at halftime, with the score being 17 or 21-10.
Right. And, you spoke about it, and you spoke about the quote that Kevin Byard caught me was talking about, one boat and all the sails rising with one boat. It was
so you raise the tide, and the boats around you will raise with it.
Right. I completely butchered that quote. Thank you for cleaning it up for me. But yeah, I like the positivity that I'm hearing coming out of the locker room. But of course, it has to happen on the football field too. So getting to the football field, they're missing 2 key players defensively, David Long Jr. and now Danico Autry is practicing, but he isn't officially listed as, hey, he's going to play. So what can you just speak to the loss of those 2 and what it's meant over the last few games?
Well, yeah, Danico Autry first. He was one of those guys that was signed because he brought that dog to the franchise, to the defense. And one of the ways I describe Danico Autry, he's a goblin, man. He's a goon. And he's a guy that goes out there, and you look on the stunts and things that they do, he's that trigger guy. And a lot of times all he's supposed to do is just kind of like occupy that tackle, and the guy on the outside, whether it's Mario Edwards getting back to the Bash brothers that they were in Oakland, or whoever it may be, Bud Dupree, whoever, right, looping inside. And so many times you look at the Colts game, right, he got a sack on a stunt where, again, his job was just to occupy the left tackle. He abused the left tackle so bad that he got in position to make the sack himself. So you're losing that, right? You're losing the guy who tips a lot. Look at Travis Kelce when he had the screen pass and Roger McCreary's first career interception. There's a reason why that ball bounced off of the 8 and 7. It's because Autry got a hand on the ball and he changed the trajectory. And as a pass catcher, when that ball is tipped and it changes, it's harder to catch it, and that's why that happened. So you look at those, a couple plays, and it's just a lot of them. I mean, the guy still leads the team in sacks, and he hasn't played in 2 games. So it just lets you know the importance there. Then also when teams focus so much on Jeffrey Simmons, double teaming him, he's the guy that beats the one-on-one. So you have that. But then you look at David Long, right? So with Autry, you're losing the dog, and David Long absolutely has that dog in him too. But you're losing like the fire and passion and the fuel. And also, I mean, he was the guy with the green dot on his helmet. And I think you look at a good example of a play, and I talked about this on the show, talking with TD this week. The first touchdown, Evan Ingram's touchdown, I don't think that happens with David Long in the game. And it's no slight to Monty Rice. David Long is just a bit more advanced in his ability to diagnose, see what's coming, and trigger and do things, right? It's going to be that way naturally because Long's been in the league longer. But I think you look at it, so that play, you had 3 guys on Monty Rice's left. You know, there was a true crosser, and then there was a crosser kind of stop, and then there was just like another one that kind of like was a hookup route as well. And you have those guys coming at you, and Monty Rice, I mean, naturally, like, you're a person. You got 3 guys coming at you this way, 1 this way. You're going to look more at these 3 coming this way. And it took him a moment to diagnose what was happening. Whereas David Long in that case, I'm pretty sure that he would have saw those 3 coming and say, you know what? There's going to be a guy coming underneath. Let me, come down on that. And Monty Rice diagnosed it just a little bit late, and Evan Ingram had already crossed him. Then there was a touch. That's why he was wide open, and there was a touchdown. So that's a good example. I think when you take David Long out, you're also losing the ability that he brings to the table as far as blitz-wise, coverage-wise. He's really good. And there's a reason why I believe he's going to be around for the next 2 to 3 years with this team. I think during the offseason, they sign it.
Definitely. That's going to be a big conversation too, in terms of who signs and who leaves. It's always big conversation here. And there's certainly a large gentleman in the interior that plenty of people are thinking about. But getting to the injuries, you've got Treylon Burks, you've got Christian Fulton that actually is, they're injured right now. I don't think they've been practicing this week.
No.
Is there any chances potentially that these 2 are going to play, or just not looking that way at this point?
I mean, there's always a chance. Normally we see Fulton in the locker room. I haven't seen him. I mean, the whole thing with the hamstring that he had, like, he's been having a wrap on that leg or a sleeve on that leg all year. It expanded to the groin, and groin injuries are tough, man. They're really tough. So I don't know that we could expect him to play. Tomorrow will tell us a lot. Friday, that is, will tell us a lot if he's out there. But we haven't even seen him in the locker room. So I doubt he plays. Then Burks, the concussion situation is always tough. He's another one. We haven't seen him in the locker room. Trey Avery is under protocol still, but, we've seen him and he's practiced. Whereas Burks, we know that hit was very violent. So and you look at Vrabel's history with concussions, I doubt Burks plays, and that's going to be a hurt piece for them.
Definitely. And, speaking of just the weapons offensively, Burks is probably the most dynamic weapon outside of Chig Okonkwo. But going into this game against the Chargers are kind of a little bit one-handed themselves in terms of defensively because Joey Bosa is not there. So they have Khalil Mack on one side, Joey Bosa not on the other side. So going into this game, how do you expect them to maybe move Mack around, kind of try to get him lined up on Dennis Daly perhaps some in this game?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Mack lines up on that side normally. So, I would imagine, but you look both sides, like that's a favorable matchup, whether it's against, a guy who has been a backup his career or a rookie right tackle, and Petit Ferrer. I think either way. So, they'll probably bounce him back and forth and try to create those matchups. It's also going to really come down to, the guys on the interior, and how they're able to work things, because you look at what the Chargers, like under Brandon Staley, they want to cover up the center. right, with your nose tackle, and he controls both A gaps, and then your other two guys, they're going to line up between the tackle and the guard, right, and control the B and C gaps, and then you got Khalil Mack out there, just kind of being helped in the up front as well, and the linebackers are able to flow and get free hits, and then on top of that, especially against this team, this is all on Whiteboard Wednesday, especially against this team that does not have an established deep threat. You bring those safeties up just a little bit, right? They're going to be at 8 yards as opposed to 12 to 15 against most teams. So that gives you more guys in that area to stop Derrick Henry.
Now, you said about the safeties coming up, and of course, they'll be creeping towards the line of scrimmage to try to curtail anything that Derrick Henry might get going. What can Todd Downing, especially without Treylon Burks there, what can Todd Downing kind of scheme up to kind of schematically get his guys open a little bit more? To be honest, I've looked at that a little bit, and sometimes I'm like, he could probably scheme them open a little bit more with kind of bunch sets or crossing patterns or things like that. But what do you see that maybe they could do to actually scheme themselves open?
Well, yeah, you work the play action. They've already established the strike route. Now, without Burks, it's not as prevalent, but have Westbrook and Kenny run the strike route, and Robert Woods on a post over top. That's probably the best way to do it. I remember in college we used to call that divide. Where you kind of you divide the safety. You got to pick. Hey, look, man, you're going to jump this post, leave a dig open, or you're going to jump the dig and leave the post open. Which one are you going to jump? And you put them in a bind. And I think that's something that you do. I think also. They need to work some of it's just tough because this group of receivers, they struggle to beat man coverage, create separation. And then this offensive line really struggles to protect. Play action is good because it gives you max protection. But when you have max protection, guess what? You have less guys in routes. So can you trust a 2 or 3 man route? A 2-man route with a dump off. Can you trust that against a Chargers front that has Khalil Mack in it? I don't know if you can, but if you can, play action, run some scissors, right? You have the post by the man on the outside, and the swing, not the swing, but the wheel route or a corner route by number 2. So those are different things to attack vertically. But it's just hard to attack vertically when you don't have the time to do so. So that's why you play action max protection.
I would like to see, honestly, just thinking about it, you talked about attacking vertically. I'd love to see if Racing McMath would get an opportunity to go deep. But, we'll see.
I mean, they took a shot. They took a shot with Racing McMath. Now, one of the things that he has to do is better be able to draw pass interference. Sometimes just the art of fighting your way back to the football it's like a guy who's drawing a charge, right? In basketball, like you're getting in position, and I'm not saying flop, but get in position and establish the fact that you're trying to maximize your right to the football. That's something that he has to do, and that's something I wish I would have talked to Rob more about that today when we had the position coaches. But yeah, I mean, that's something that would be big.
Yeah, definitely. That's something to look at. And as far as defensively, the biggest thing I look at is, if they're not able to apply pressure, then you expose your cornerbacks. And Roger McCreary is definitely been a guy that offenses have targeted. In this game, I mean, what are some things other than, that they can do to protect them in terms of a pass rush to protect Roger McCreary out there a little more?
I mean, establish one. Impact the passer, get him on the move. But the thing is, they were able to get Trevor Lawrence on the move, and he made some good throws. Also, you look, that offense for the Chargers, they like to get Justin Herbert on the move. There was a play, actually, if you go back to the Sunday night game. I remember, so they had play action going this way, and Mike Williams was on this side. And Justin Herbert faked it and rolled out this way to his right. And Mike Williams was on the right, and he ran a deep over route. all the way over. It was almost like a throwback type of situation where it's not a throw that you expect the quarterback to make, and especially expect it to be one that you're asking the quarterback to make. But Justin Herbert, with his arm and the ability to make plays on the move, you have that. And it was a big gain. I want to say like a 30-plus yard gain. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I remember seeing that. And that's something that, it's an example, right? Quarterback on the move making a big play. I mean, this guy, Kevin Byers, said it. Like, he could, on the run, throw the ball 70 yards down the field. That's a true advantage. So, yeah, you want to get the quarterback on the move, but you got to be careful what you ask for with Justin Herbert.
That's definitely true. In this game, it's going to be a uphill battle, I would say, for the Titans because, of course, the strengths of the Chargers are not necessarily the strengths of the Titans, especially when it comes to the passing game, going against the Titans' defense in terms of their pass defense. And then you got also on the flip side, their passing game is not necessarily great in terms of going against Derwin James and those guys out there, which, more than likely Derwin James will be out there, but, we'll see. So, going into this game, I just wanted to kind of ask a few questions. What do you think in terms of yes or no answers, I guess, or, just your thoughts? Chig Okonkwo. You've seen him flash on the screen a lot. So in this game, do you see him getting maybe a couple splash plays, two splash plays, and maybe a touchdown, or just maybe one splash play? Because, I love watching him play. I think he's very, very impactful, and a lot of people underrated him, in my opinion.
Yeah, Chig Okonkwo is a guy that, I was really high on in the draft. He and Jelani Woods were my favorite two tight ends. I really like Greg Dulcich as well. There's a bunch of tight ends I like, but those two are my favorite ones. I think when you look at not only his confidence, but the confidence that the staff has began to develop with him and the quarterback as well, I think it's only right that the opportunities expand. And I talked to the tight end coach, Luke Steckel, today, and he talked about how, they're looking for more opportunities and ways to get him the football, right? And so naturally, when a guy's making plays, you're going to go back to the lab and put some stuff together. It's never too late in the season to unleash a new wrinkle, and they had a really good play design to get him the football on the touchdown, the helicopter touchdown, and you'll continue to see his role expand. So I would say yes. Chances are there'll be a splash play by Okonkwo, especially you look at Derwin James. He didn't practice on Wednesday or Thursday. We'll see what happens Friday. Guys have missed a week of practice and played. If he doesn't play, that's another opportunity because James is a guy that they like to match up against tight ends. And, I think that matchup is favorable to the Chargers if Derwin plays. So I would look at that as a possibility.
All right, and here's one I got for the defense. They have not forced any turnovers in recent games. Do they at least get one turnover in this game?
Yeah, they haven't. Their last turnover, and I asked Shane Bowen about this. Their last turnover was Week 10. Terrence Mitchell picked off Russell Wilson. And it was kind of like a gift INT, but nevertheless, it's a turnover. We're in Week 15? It's been 5 weeks. They're due. I think, you look at the Roger McCreary, he had an opportunity to pick it off, but it went through his hands and into Zay Jones' hands for the touchdown. So it's been a while. I think, they're going to get that pressure. I think there are things that you could do to confuse Justin Herbert, sell him one pitcher pre-snap and show him another one post-snap. And that could lead to an interception. He will put the ball in harm's way from time to time. So I say yes, they get a turnover, long story short.
All right. Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry had a 100-yard game last week. Kind of got back on track running the football. Kind of actually didn't get touched in the backfield quite as much running the football to start the game. In this game, do you see him repeating another 100-yard performance?
I do. I think they're going to not force it, but they're going to press that issue to get him going. A, that's their DNA. B, time of possession, ball control, keep away from the opposing offense is the best form of defense. So I think they're going to look to do that. I think they will be able to get him going, actually. You look at the Chargers, they have a unique way of trying to stop the run, but collectively over the year, it hasn't been that good. The last couple of games has been better, so we'll see.
All right, and then the last one I got for you. The leader of this defense, some say it's Jeffrey Simmons. I'm going to say another leader is Kevin Byard. Now, Kevin Byard hasn't necessarily had the turnovers he would usually have he had during this all-pro season, of course. But do you think in this game that he is the one that actually forces the big turnover or makes the big turnover?
Yeah, I mean, I think he can be. If it were up to me, he would be that one because he would be that guy. I talk about giving Herbert a pitcher pre-snap and changing it up post-snap. Well, you know what? Show too high look. And here's the thing. The Titans use a lot of two-man and too high safety looks. So you got a guy like Byard who's such a ball hawk, swoop him down into the middle of the field, the robber position, and let him come down and step in the passing lane of one of those throws that Herbert makes and pick it off. And I think that could be a big play. So, yeah, I mean, I think if they play it the way I think they should, he'll be the guy.
I think what's going to end up happening is I think he's going to get one guarding Everett. If Everett plays, of course, I think he gets one on Everett, in my opinion. But I definitely think, and then plus, of course, he's in LA again. So this is a stadium where he had a great pick and a touchdown versus the Rams. So kind of the synergy going on with the same stadium and things like that. So kind of putting two and two together there.
Hopefully that does have a fact. I doubt it does, but hey, it'd be great if it did. But yeah.
All right. I guess I'm a little superstitious in some points, but
maybe he'll have the same socks and gloves on too, and sleeve. You never know. Superstition. I mean, guys have their superstitions, right? They have their habits.
Right. And I want to thank you for coming on. We reached the end of our time. I want to, if you want to, tell everyone where they can reach you, what all you got going on. The floor is yours.
Yeah, for sure. ESPN.com, you click on NFL, then the Titans page, you can find any Titan stuff. There's actually a post that went up on Thursday in regards to this team bouncing back and what they need to do in order to do so. So definitely check that out. You got Whiteboard Wednesday on the ESPN.com Titans page. Kind of got into it a little bit, the breakdown of the Chargers' ability to defend the run without sacrificing pass defense. Talking with TD, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, anywhere you get your good listening, you can find listening materials. You can check me out there. So those are some options. At @Davenport_NFL on Twitter. I think it's just Turron Davenport on IG. And there you have it.
I will tell you, everyone's listening. If you have not listened to Talking with TD, he kind of gets into the intricacies of the game, breaks things down, and he also brings in Mr. Chris Sanders, who is definitely a longtime Titan that everyone pretty much knows in this area. I don't know if they know outside the area.
Fun with it. Yeah, we have fun with it.
Man, the announcing part, man, always gets me, man.
I always try to give them a random name. You get two this week, so there's two, both Atlanta Hawks, but you get two announcements.
I already know where you're going. One of them, man. Yeah. I already know where you're going. Got to be Mookie.
That's right, Mookie Blaylock. I call him Mookie every week on the preview. It's funny, man.
Yeah, it is, man. I definitely love that part, man. That part has me cracking up every single time. But
yeah, it brings me back. It brings me back like to my younger days. So when I used to go to Knicks games, as a kid, they never really had like real unique announcements and things like that, pregame. But going to the Sixers games in the early 80s with my aunt when I used to go, they always had the dope announcements. And then the Bulls started using that music, Dave Zinkoff for the Sixers. Then the Bulls started using the music. And then I always loved it. So it's fun to be able to, kind of replicate that and have fun with it.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's always fun times. Again, thank you for coming on. Thank everyone for listening. You've been tuned in to Turron AFC South with your host, Mike Patton. We're out.